We talk a lot about success, resilience, and balance, but rarely about the cost of surviving long enough to succeed. What happens when building a business, raising a family, and holding it all together slowly disconnects us from our own body? Welcome back to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the podcast where we explore what it truly means to live well, emotionally, mentally, and of course, physically, especially while carrying real responsibilities. Today, I'm joined by Samantha. She's an entrepreneur, culinary herbalist, wellness strategist, author, and speaker whose work bridges leadership, nervous system health, and nourishment. Her journey spans building businesses, raising a child as a single mother, and reclaiming energy and clarity through food and herbs. Um, and in this episode, we are exploring what it really looks like to build a life and a business without burning out your body along the way. So, Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited about this conversation. It's a
Uh,
good passionate topic for me.
yeah, and so before we get into the work you do, I want to start simply by asking you that when you think about the version of yourself who was trying to survive at a point, um, not thrive. What do you notice the most about how you moved through the world at that point?
Yeah. Well, my entry into like adulthood was abrupt. And so I guess answering that question, when I think about that version of myself, like that, you know, 20-year-old version of myself, I it's I almost don't recognize that person, I think, mainly because it was just this abrupt entry into what has become my life, right? At 19, experienced a pretty significant tragedy, found out shortly after that I was going to be a mom, which left me sort of alone to raise a child. And that version of me was scared and, lost and, sort of building a foundation of unhealthy habits very, very early on. So I think that, where I am today is sort of that came from the starting point of, like, not even really actually knowing that I was lost, that I was even scared, although I felt that almost daily, uh, a it was really building a foundation of unhealthy habits at that point in time.
Yeah. I mean, it's true that I believe, even I believe that, you know, each moment leads to the next. Right? It's kind of a rippling effect in a water source. You've talked about how you survived an incident as well. Coming back to the business side of things, Samantha, uh, because I see many people start businesses or careers from a place of survival rather than passion, right? Um, Not always true though, but we'll stick to the majority of the cases that at least I have seen. So, in your experience, how does building from survival shape the way someone leads and make decisions later on? I mean, um, how much vulnerability does one account for in that scenario?
Yeah, I think that I think I my business from both survival and passion. It was like a mixture of both things. I will tell you that, leading from survival or building a business from survival, it maybe is, not the best way to go about it. I think that, I'm working on building my second business right now, and I'm in a very different place. And so, that first business that I launched and started, which was about 12 years ago, was done out of sort of like a deep passion to help and provide a service in an area where I saw a need. but also survival from this like burning desire of like I need like I cannot do this under someone else's umbrella anymore. Like this is not working. And there was a lot of things I was dealing with in working in another company. So for me it felt like survival to launch and start my own, and it was driven by passion. Um
Yeah.
I think what I've learned about myself when I'm doing things to survive, I I am I mix up these 2 things. I'm going for action and then clarity in that survival but when I flip the switch and I'm in a very stabilized and, and I'm emotionally, like, stable, and not in survival fight or flight, then I'm flipping the switch. I'm clear, and then I action. It's clarity and then action.
Yeah, right. I mean, clarity is so important. I think that, you know, fight and flight mode, right? That really makes it difficult to make the right decisions. Being a leader or a business owner, and that's what really stays with me. But also, you talked about you are planning to open a second business at this point. So, is it also related to herbs and medicine, or is it something different you would share?
That is the business of, the herbs and wellness. I've been in the health industry for 32 years. And I've been coaching and consulting. I've been working inside of healthcare practices, particularly in dentistry. And so that first business that I launched was really there. And the second launching of this business that's really focused in wellness. I mean, I kind of call myself a business plus wellness integrator because what I've learned in 30 years of the hustle and grind culture of corporate business is that there is a lot of unwell people navigating in there. They're leading in an
Yes.
they're unhealthy, they're burnt out, they're stressed, there's so much anxiety. And, I experienced that myself. So through my own health crisis, went down this rabbit hole of learning how to take care of myself and stop surviving and start thriving. And for me, that was I really, really connected to, plants and herbs, and that's a whole probably another podcast for another day and sort of how that blossomed, for no pun intended. But that the launching of this next business it was a book. It's a book that kind of came to life. My journaling and my writing, my cooking, the way that herbs were changing my own mental and physical health. And then seeing how I could integrate that into these places that I'm working with people every day who are, doing their very best and leading large teams and also are just incredibly unwell and unhealthy. And that part of them
Mm.
needed to be addressed just alongside everything that we're trying to strive for in business. Like we disconnect the two, Sayan. It's
Yeah.
far. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, uh, coming from a corporate background as well, I mean, I can assure you that's true. And when you talk about exhaustion and burnout, right? There's a
Yeah.
popular belief that exhaustion, like pushing through it, is just the part of building something meaningful, like something only high achievers can do.
That's right. It's fallacy, I believe. It's
Yeah, like, do you really think that pushing through that exhaustion or burnout is the way out? Like from your perspective, where does that belief sort of place now?
I don't think we have to burn out to be successful or to hit a milestone. I actually just believe that that is an old belief that really needs some of our attention in corporate and also just as small business owners or moms or whatever. Working hard does not have to feel overwhelming and exhausting. It really doesn't. And we don't have to, exhaust ourselves to be successful. I don't think that that's true in any way. I think that's been my own learning. I've been carrying around the conditioned belief that I have and I'm wearing, like, working hard and burning out and, achieve, achieve, achieve as a badge of honor. And the reality is that I can be both well and healthy and successful, and, I don't have to sacrifice self in that journey.
Yeah, and I think the thing that he shared, that you don't need to push past that line, right? I think that's the part which is the most hardest thing to explain to others until you have lived it, right? It's like people around you telling you that you're doing great. They will definitely reward you for pushing, but you have to think at what cost, right?
Mhm.
So you keep going, and your body is clearly asking for something different, but Mm. most of us, I mean, don't listen to what our body is saying, right? I mean, just to take a breather, a moment, right, to listen to yourself. I think that goes a long way, and especially Samantha, talking about you, since um for example, when there are other people depending on you, right?
Mm.
Especially your kids. I think it even gets harder to listen to yourself because of all the
Yeah,
responsibilities.
I agree.
Um, so talking about you, raising a family while building a business. Now, that is something that will make self-care feel optional, right? Or even selfish. I mean, how did
That's true.
motherhood, yeah, I mean, how did your case, your motherhood influence the way you ignored or listened to your own needs?
It was a tremendous, I was bad at it, Cyan. Like, I mean, truthfully, like, I was very bad at taking care of myself during that time. I was very disconnected from my body and being able to, I had lost the skill that we're all born with is to be signaled by our body. I had lost connection, right? Like, Wi-Fi down, it was not working. And it was because I was so focused on being a good mom and a good boss and, developing a good company and I lost that part of myself, and it took a health crisis to bring me back. And I think that that's why launching this second company that I'm working on, that focuses on, wellness and how we listen to our bodies and what we put into our bodies and how we, you know, come to prioritize our bodies, is really, where that came from for me. It was survival. Again, coming back to that, I was, surviving, this where I'm at now is me coming out of this place of survival, and a health crisis that woke me up from a time that I neglected my health and wellness for a very long time because again, I wore it as a badge of honor. I'm taking care of everybody else. My kids are well cared for. Like, my self-care is optional, as you put it. So, yeah, made a big difference to me.
Right. I mean, yeah, putting yourself last can, look responsible, even loving, but I think over time, that cost eventually shows up, right?
That's right.
As exhaustion ultimately.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, usually the moment when people start asking, okay, what actually supports this version of me right now? Um, you talk about food and herbs as medicine, not trends. So for someone who feels very overwhelmed or also skeptical, what is that one realistic way nourishment can support energy and mental clarity?
Yeah, well, I'll just say this sounds so cliche and maybe even silly, but for me, it was a really small integrated habit that I created, and it's just tea time, like, every day for me, like, it was how do I reconnect with my body? Number one.
Yeah.
And how do I do something that's sort of almost ritualistic or habitual, that is nourishing and changes the whole way I think about, um, caring for myself, food, all of that. And so, I have studied, under some really talented herbalists, um, to really know how certain plants and botanicals have the ancient wisdom of them and the ancient medicine that they carry. And so I just decided with that, with my studies in herbalism, that I was going to take that into a daily ritual. And the practical switch for me was just saying, okay, I'm going to take a break in my day every day at 2 o'clock. I'm going to brew a cup of tea with some herbs that make me think about how I'm feeling that day. Like, what do I notice in my body? What do I notice in my mind? And what plants are available to actually support me in that 2 o'clock tea time that I'm going to prioritize to just get in the habit of taking care of myself, right? Reigniting that connection to body. And, that's really where it started for me. That little ritual of tea time turned into, I mean, I still do it today, and it turned into just a huge culmination of what more can I do? Like, okay, it's dinner time. What do I feel at dinner time? What can I add to my rice or to my meal to support what I'm feeling in my mind and what I'm feeling in my body? And it just spiraled from there. I've written a cookbook with recipes upon recipes that actually speak to, are your joints hurting today? Maybe try this recipe. Are you feeling stressed? Let's cook this today then. And so that whole idea of just bringing creativity
Yeah.
and cooking in the kitchen into my body that's asking for support, was just the birth of this whole idea of, okay, well, that was not that hard. So now how can I teach all of these leaders and all of these team members how to, take a second in your workday for some tea. Maybe take a second on Sunday afternoon to plan out what meals look like in your week for lunch ahead so that you're supporting your body during that heavy meeting day on Tuesday where you're going to be in back-to-back meetings. You got to be on. Like, what should you be eating that morning? And how can you use food to support everything that's going on inside of us?
Wow. The way you framed it and the way you said, right? I mean, there's literally some alternative for when you don't feel good. I think that was the beautiful part, the most beautiful part of this whole conversation. And I think when nourishment does indeed becomes a relationship, like you explained as well, with yourself. Those little promises that you make yourself. In your case, that would be the tea time. But I think that's when the body stops feeling like something to manage and starts feeling more like something to work with. Um, eh, like that shift is pivotal. I feel like so. Samantha, since we'll be closing on the time as well. Um, I want to ask this on behalf of everyone who's listening to this right now. So for someone who feels successful on paper, right? But disconnected inside. I mean, the same thing we talked about earlier as well, around um, the reward system, right? The burnout. So, what is one question that they can ask themselves as they enter this new year?
I love this question so much because I'll share the question that I ask myself every day when I wake up. And it's very simple. It's, what do I want my life to look and feel like? And what's one small thing I can do today to move closer to that life? And I think that, I talk a lot about life design with entrepreneurs. I think a lot of times we build a business and then we build our life around that business. And I would encourage us to think differently. Let's build let's design our life, and then let's build a business around that life that we desire, that we see in our mind's eye. And to me, the compass for that is that daily question. What do I want my life to look and feel like? And what is one small thing I can do today to get closer to that life?
Wow, I love how you frame that. Build your life and then build the design and then build your business around it. I mean,
That's right.
that's really, I think, the playbook to note by as well. So, my key takeaway from this is this month that true success is um not just what we build externally, right, for validation or anything around that, but how actually we support our might, while we are building it. I think that's what true success. Now, success is definitely a very subjective thing. Like some might disagree to this,
Yeah.
but it is so very important, I think, to take care of the mind and your body as well. So I thank you so much for this conversation, Samantha. And just before we wrap this off, for anyone who's listening to this right now and wants to know more about your work, your book, or your approach to nourishment, Isabel, where can they find you at?
I would love if you would visit me on my website. It is stirredbyearth.com. That is the name of my forthcoming book. And I've got a blog on there. I've got different ways that we can connect on that website. And yeah, I would love to connect that way.
Perfect. Dear listeners, I'll include the details in the show notes. And yeah, please do. So with that, we hit today's minute mark on this episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. And folks, as this year's begin, I invite you to reflect not on your New Year's resolution, but on your energy and your body, and the way you're treating them along this journey. Thank you for spending this time with us on Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. And if this conversation resonated with you on, please do share it with someone who might need this permission to rest and rebuild. Until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and I'll see you in the next one.